The aroma of burnt sugar clung to my clothes and hair, a constant reminder of my ill-advised adventure. It was a smell that used to evoke childhood memories of frosted cookies and birthday cakes, but now it just churned my stomach with dread. It was the smell of the Blackwood Bakery, the most haunted place in Hollow Creek, and I, Maya Sharma, was stupid enough to spend a night inside. I'm a sucker for a good ghost story. Always have been. Growing up in Hollow Creek, the legend of the Blackwood Bakery was practically woven into our bedtime tales. The Blackwood family, they said, were bakers with a gift, their pastries legendary throughout the county. But their success came at a price. They were rumored to have dabbled in dark arts, using forbidden ingredients to enhance their recipes, binding spirits to their ovens to ensure their bread always rose perfectly. Then, one stormy night, the bakery went silent. The Blackwoods vanished, leaving behind a half-baked batch of dough and a chilling legacy. The bakery stood on the edge of town, a Gothic gingerbread house crumbling under the weight of years and neglect. Locals whispered about strange lights flickering in the windows, phantom scents of cinnamon and decay, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Most people avoided it, but for me it was an irresistible siren song. Started as a dare, of course. Me, Liam, and Chloe huddled around a bonfire at the quarry, fueled by cheap soda and adrenaline. Liam, ever the showman, challenged me to spend a night in the Blackwood Bakery. Proof the stories are just that, stories, he'd said, a smirk playing on his lips. Chloe, usually the voice of reason, surprised me by egging me on. Think of the clout, Maya. You could be Hollow Creek's ghost-hunting celebrity. Clout wasn't really my thing, but the idea of uncovering the truth behind the legend, of finally knowing if the Blackwood Bakery was truly haunted, was too tempting. So, against my better judgment, I agreed. The plan was simple. I'd pack some snacks, a flashlight, and my dad's old camera, he was a photography enthusiast, and spend the night inside. Liam and Chloe would be on standby, parked a safe distance away, ready to bolt if things got too weird. Looking back, too weird was a gross understatement. As dusk settled over Hollow Creek, casting long, eerie shadows, I stood before the Blackwood Bakery. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else. Something sickly sweet, like overripe fruit mixed with something metallic. The front door, boarded up years ago, had been pried open just enough for me to squeeze through. My heart hammered against my ribs as I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and the silence was deafening. Moonlight filtering through the grimy windows painted the interior in shades of gray. The main room, once the bustling heart of the bakery, was a scene of utter decay. Rusted baking equipment lay scattered across the floor, covered in cobwebs and grime. A massive brick oven dominated one wall, its gaping maw promising unknown horrors. I took a deep breath and activated my flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling slightly. "Is anyone there?" Only silence answered me. I started documenting the scene, snapping photos of the decaying equipment, the crumbling walls, and the unsettlingly empty display cases. As I moved deeper into the bakery, I noticed a strange pattern emerging. Flour, seemingly undisturbed for decades, had been swept into intricate designs on the floor, swirls, circles, and symbols I couldn't quite decipher. They looked ritualistic. Suddenly, I heard a noise from the back of the bakery, a faint scratching sound, like nails on wood. My hand tightened on the flashlight, my heart leaping into my throat. I moved slowly, cautiously, towards the source of the sound. The scratching led me to a small, almost hidden room, tucked away behind the main oven. Inside, I found a rusted metal cabinet. The scratching was coming from within. With trembling hands, I pulled open the cabinet door. Inside, I found nothing but a pile of old cookbooks and recipe cards, their pages yellowed and brittle. The scratching had stopped. I sighed, relieved but also unnerved. It must have been a rat, I told myself. Just a harmless rat. I picked up one of the recipe cards. The ink had faded, but I could still make out the title, Blackwood's Midnight Muffins. The ingredients list was unusual. Along with flour, sugar, and eggs, there were things like nightshade berries, raven's talons, and a single tear of grief. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just baking. This was something far more sinister. As I flipped through the recipe cards, I found more of the same recipes using bizarre and disturbing ingredients, each promising extraordinary results. Love-laced loaf, fortune-filled fancies, immortality icing. The Blackwoods weren't just bakers. They were alchemists, using their ovens to conjure emotions and manipulate fate. Suddenly, the air grew cold, and the scent of burnt sugar intensified, almost overwhelming me. The flashlight flickered, threatening to plunge me into darkness. And then, I heard it, a low, guttural moan emanating from the oven. I froze, my blood turning to ice. The moan grew louder, morphing into a mournful wail that echoed through the bakery. The oven door rattled, as if something was trying to escape. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that whatever was inside wasn't human. I stumbled backward, knocking over a stack of cookbooks. The noise seemed to agitate whatever was in the oven. The wailing intensified, accompanied by frantic banging. The entire bakery seemed to vibrate with its fury. I had to get out. I turned and fled, scrambling through the main room, tripping over rusted equipment in my panic. The scent of burnt sugar clung to me, suffocating me. As I reached the front door, the banging from the oven reached a fever pitch. The oven door burst open with a deafening crash, and a cloud of black smoke billowed out, filling the bakery. I didn't look back. I scrambled through the opening in the boarded-up door and ran, my lungs burning, my heart pounding. I didn't stop running until I reached Liam and Chloe's car, collapsing against the hood, gasping for air. "Maya, what happened?" Chloe shrieked, her eyes wide with fear. I couldn't speak. I just pointed back towards the bakery, shaking my head. Liam started the car, and we sped away, leaving the Blackwood Bakery behind. I glanced back one last time, and I saw it, a flickering light in one of the upstairs windows, a light that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. The night didn't end there. Back at home, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside my window, sent shivers down my spine. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, but I knew better. The next morning, I woke up to find a single, perfectly formed black rose lying on my pillow. Its petals were velvety soft, and its scent was intoxicatingly sweet, but there was something unsettling about it, something familiar. Then I remembered the immortality icing recipe, its main ingredient, the bloom of a black rose nurtured in sorrow. I threw the rose away, but the feeling of dread persisted. Over the next few days, strange things started happening. My dreams were filled with images of the Blackwood Bakery, of shadowy figures baking in the infernal ovens. I kept catching glimpses of movement in the periphery of my vision, whispers on the wind, and the constant, nagging scent of burnt sugar. I tried to ignore it, to convince myself that it was all in my head, but I knew the truth. The Blackwoods weren't finished with me. They had somehow latched onto me, drawn by my curiosity, my intrusion into their haunted domain. I decided to do some research, hoping to find a way to break their hold on me. I spent hours at the library, poring over old books and local histories. I learned more about the Blackwood family, their dark secrets, and the tragic events that led to their demise. I discovered that the night they vanished, a rival baker, envious of their success, had accused them of witchcraft. A mob stormed the bakery, intending to burn it to the ground. In the ensuing chaos, a fire broke out, trapping the Blackwoods inside. They died screaming, consumed by the flames. Their spirits, bound to the bakery by their dark magic, were forever trapped, seeking vengeance on anyone who dared to disturb their rest. The only way to appease them, according to the legends, was to offer them something of equal value to what they had lost. A powerful ingredient, a potent emotion, a sacrifice. I knew what I had to do. Armed with my research and a heavy heart, I returned to the Blackwood Bakery. It was a cold, moonless night, the wind howling like a banshee. The bakery loomed before me, a silhouette against the stormy sky, its windows like empty eyes staring into my soul. I stepped inside, the scent of burnt sugar hitting me like a wall. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the bakery itself was waiting for me. I walked to the oven, its gaping maw still radiating a faint heat. "I know what you want," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "You want vengeance. You want to be remembered." I reached into my bag and pulled out a small, ornate box. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was a lock of my grandmother's hair. My grandmother had been a baker herself, her recipes passed down through generations. She had died a few months ago, and her loss had left a gaping hole in my heart. "This is all I have to offer," I said, tears streaming down my face. "A piece of someone I loved, a piece of my own history. I hope it's enough." I placed the box inside the oven and closed the door. Silence. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the scent of burnt sugar began to fade, replaced by the sweet, familiar aroma of baking bread. The air grew warmer, lighter. The oppressive feeling of dread lifted, replaced by a sense of peace. I knew somehow that it was over. I turned and walked out of the Blackwood Bakery, leaving the past behind. I never went back, and I never experienced any more strange occurrences. The Blackwoods were finally at peace, their hunger sated by the offering of love and remembrance. The Blackwood Bakery still stands on the edge of Hollow Creek, a crumbling reminder of a dark past. But now, when I pass by, I no longer feel fear. I feel a sense of sadness, of regret, and a strange sense of connection to the bakers who once dreamed of making the world a little sweeter, even if they used the wrong ingredients. And sometimes, just sometimes, I catch a faint whiff of baking bread on the wind, a reminder that even in the darkest of places, a little bit of hope can still rise from the ashes. And maybe, just maybe, some stories are best left untold. But not this one. This one needed to be told for the sake of the Blackwood family that was wronged for so long. This story will be remembered by all for generations to come.